So what if we took an institution we all know, the public library, and completely rebuilt it from the ground up for our modern world? I'm not talking about just a building with books, but a dynamic, powerful new kind of infrastructure for creating knowledge. Okay, let's dive into this really bold proposition.
This quote right here, it just nails the core problem the whole proposal is trying to solve. Think about it for a second. You have retired experts, brilliant amateurs, curious tinkerers, all these people doing amazing intellectual work, but they're doing it in isolation. They've got the passion, they've got the ideas, but they have no support system, no community, no real infrastructure. They're like thousands of individual suns, burning great, but all alone.
And that's the big question, isn't it? What would it actually look like to create a system that's designed not for intellectual fission, splitting people and ideas apart, but for intellectual synthesis, for bringing all these brilliant minds together?
To really understand the solution here, we've got to first diagnose the problem. Why are all these brilliant people working in isolation in the first place? Let's take a look.
Well, right now, if you want to do any kind of serious intellectual work, you're pretty much pushed into one of two boxes. On one side, you've got academia. It can be incredible, but it's often slow, very hierarchical, and you need years of credentials just to get in the door. Then on the other side, you have corporate R&D. It's fast, it's well-funded, sure, but it's all driven by profit, and its discoveries get locked away behind intellectual property walls. And this slide shows us exactly what's missing. We've got these two pillars, academia and corporate R&D, but there's this massive, gaping hole right in the middle. We need this third space, a place that's open to everyone regardless of credentials, that's focused on the public good, that's built for collaboration, and, this is crucial, is supported by real, tangible infrastructure.
So if that's the problem, what's the solution? Well, it's not about just slightly improving the old library model. It's about building an entirely new kind of civic infrastructure. And this is the big idea, laid out right here. The 21st Century Library isn't just one building, it's a distributed mesh network of what the proposal calls knowledge nodes. So I want you to imagine this web of interconnected spaces, each one packed with resources, experts, and tools for working together.
This is the key philosophical shift. It's huge. The old library was basically a warehouse for finished knowledge, a place you went to consume things that other people had already created. This new library, it's a workshop. It's a place that gives you the tools, the materials, and the guidance to actually create new knowledge yourself.
All right, so how would this actually work in practice? Let's dig into the architecture and see how this system is designed to be resilient, adaptable, and seriously powerful.
This slide shows the critical change in structure. On the left, you see the old hub-and-spoke model. It's rigid, it's fragile. If that central hub fails, the whole system just breaks. But on the right, you have the proposed mesh network. Every single node connects to other nodes, which makes the entire system resilient, adaptable, and able to grow organically.
And this network isn't one size fits all. It's built on a fluid, tiered system that can literally breathe with the community. A small town might start with a simple Tier 3 access point, but if demand grows, it can scale up to a Tier 2, adding more specialized tools and experts. The whole system responds to how people are actually using it.
What's really cool is that each node is also modular. So every location starts with the core essentials, right? But then you can add other modules based on what the local community needs. Does your town have a lot of artists and engineers? Great, add a makerspace. Do you need to attract rotating experts from across the network? No problem, add some living quarters. Each node becomes uniquely tailored to its community.
But hey, a building is just a skeleton. The real lifeblood of this network is the people and the tools inside. So let's look at the human and technological layers that make this whole thing work.
This system proposes a total restoration of the librarian's role. So forget that old stereotype of someone who just checks out books and shushes you. The 21st century librarian is an active expert consultant, a knowledge broker who connects people and ideas, and a facilitator who actually helps spark collaboration. And here's the most innovative part of that human layer. You've got your junior and mid-level librarians as the essential full-time staff, but that top tier, the senior librarians, now that is a game changer. These are practicing professionals, engineers, doctors, historians, who work part-time in the library as expert consultants. You get direct access to real, current, hands-on expertise.
And what about the tools? We're talking about institutional access to things most individuals could never afford on their own. Top-tier AI models, specialized lab equipment like spectrometers, high-end fabrication tools, and the raw computing power to run major projects.
This just removes the enormous cost and expertise barriers for everyone. Now, to keep the network dynamic and fresh, those senior librarians can voluntarily rotate between nodes for short residencies. This is brilliant. It injects new perspectives into each community, it helps break down local echo chambers, and it makes sure that all that specialized knowledge flows freely through the entire system.
So, okay, you have the network, you have the experts, and you have the tools. But what's the point? What's the grand vision here? What kind of profound impact could a system like this really have on us?
The ultimate goal is to create the perfect conditions for something called unexpected cross-pollination. See, true innovation, the real breakthroughs, they often happen at the intersection of different fields, when ideas from one domain just crash into another in surprising ways. This whole system is designed to make those collisions happen on purpose.
And this example just illustrates it perfectly. Imagine, in the exact same physical space, a nuclear engineer ends up running a Dungeons & Dragons game for some local teens. And then those teens, in turn, give a linguist, who also happens to be there, real-time insights into how slang is evolving. Expertise and learning just start flowing in every direction in ways you could never, ever plan. What this does is completely flatten the path to doing meaningful work. You know, the traditional model is this long, slow, grinding climb. This new model just says, you have a question, you have an idea, great. Here's an expert, and here's the equipment. You can start now.
And that's the core philosophy, plain and simple. It's an invitation to every single person to join humanity's great intellectual project. It says that your curiosity is valuable from day one, and we shouldn't lock it away in a warehouse until someone with a fancy piece of paper says you're finally qualified.
So ultimately, the promise here is enormous. This is that missing third space for intellectual work. It's the infrastructure we need to bring knowledge together, not split it apart. It's a way to finally connect all those suns that have been burning alone for far too long.
And that brings us to the final and most crucial question. It's a powerful idea, but to really grasp it, you've got to make it personal. So just think about it for a minute. If this network, these tools, and these experts existed right where you live, what would you build? What would you discover? What would you create?